Star Wars. We do.
Got that right. So at least we what y'all want.
Hey, backseaters, we are back. But we are at the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office, 3rd floor. We're hoping our connection will be better than it was out there in the corner of Selby and Marshall at the 8 to 18 Truth Center. That was a great location. I really wanted to have those guys. But you know what? They volunteered to come down to the office and have this conversation. So we're thanking them. And everybody came down. So these are some experts in what it's like to grow up in the inner city. That's their level of expertise. Mickey Frost, as you know, right here on the right there, wave there. David Lindsay, of course, one of our community service officers. Bruce, last name unknown across the way there.
There you go.
Demetrius Boyd, also known as Michi Curry. And, of course, Andre Star Wars Robinson. And not to be, there we go, the Rev. The leader of the pack, as you say, is the Rev. So when these guys were interviewed by a national media about gang problems and growing up and what it's going to take to break the cycle of youth delinquency and gang violence, and I was listening to them, and they all started chiming in. Actually, after the interview was over, there was better stuff coming out there. That's why I wanted to be sure we covered some of that. Everybody here has the same goal: help children succeed in life. But Bruce talked about his own life, and Bruce, maybe you can just tell the story again about what happened in your life and why you ended up getting in trouble.
Well, for me, it started off for me when I was a kid. I had a literacy problem, and I couldn't comprehend, and I noticed it from being a child, being around my older brothers, because I'm the baby out of 7. My mom raised 7, but she only had biologically 3. So she raised other nephews with us. And everybody was able to read and comprehend and to catch on. And by me being a baby and was younger, I couldn't catch on to certain stuff, like the other brothers would. So they would come home and get good grades, and mom was always happy and proud of them, and I would always get bad grades, and mom still didn't love me. No different than them, but I was different. It was like I was a special needs kid. So by me not being able to catch on with certain things, kids made fun of me, and they teased me, and they called me dumb. So later in life, I found out that I had what's this? What do they call this thing nowadays?
or something.
ADHD and it's other terminology names they got for kids that can't catch on. But back then you were just known as dumb. And so what I would do is I would act out all the time. I would stab kids with pencils. I would fight, and I knew I was gonna get whooped when I got home. And I would rather take the whooping at home than to be embarrassed at school. And so that was my biggest deal, was the embarrassment that I felt, because I felt I couldn't catch on. And then even with my mom and growing up in the household, I felt a little different even with the other siblings, because they seemed like they got treated different because they was able to go outside and do all kind of sports and activities, and I stayed on punishment a lot. So in that, it kind of made me angry. So for me, getting locked up later in life, I can look back now on my childhood, and there was a similarity to the same thing as being in jail, because I was on punishment a lot, looking out the window, watching the kids play, and I stayed in the house. In saying that, I started getting involved with older guys that was selling drugs and being involved in gangs. And with that, I was attracted to that and the money, because there was also a protection that came with that.
Before you get to the gang life, how did the teachers react to you when you were in school? Do you remember when you were behind in school? Did you kind of feel like they knew you were behind, or what was the teacher situation?
Well, even the teachers did things that, to me, made me feel even more embarrassed. They would make me stay after class. So all the kids got to leave school on time. and I would stay after class and have to do test books over again and read some more, and just all of these things. But my anger grew even more because of now I'm watching all of these kids leave and I'm still in school, and here it is maybe an hour later after class. So that was really bad for me. And the anger just kept growing.
Before we get to sort of the gang involvement, anybody else want to jump in here on their childhood? Just talk to us a little bit about what happened, when you were little, Meech? Or...
Well, my childhood, I grew up looking up to guys like Star Wars and them, like running the streets. My father, he ran the streets, and I grasped to that, because that's what I was growing up seeing, My brothers, my family members, the gang life. So growing up, I seen them doing it, so I wanted to do it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Andre, you started out in South Chicago there. I mean, what was your start like, and how?
Well, I started like Bruce. I was dumb, but I didn't mind being dumb. I wanted to stay dumb, because, I had joined the Disciples at 11, and I wasn't really too interested in school. I wanted to get out there and be with the gang members.
And you think that was because of the role models, your brothers or why did you make that decision?
Because I was dumb, and like Bruce said, people call you dumb, but when you get around them, they don't call you dumb.
Okay.
They make you feel like you're a prince or a king on the street, family.
Absolutely.
So I got attached to that, at 11 years old. Got my first tattoo on my arm at 11 years old, and went from there.
Well, hold on a minute here. I've obviously got the camera around myself. Sorry about that. Well, I mean, so basically you and Bruce got the same thing. You'd rather be running with the gangs than you would struggle with people that thought you were dumb.
Right, because they treated you like family.
Yeah.
That's right.
They treated you like family.
David, how about you? What?
For me, it was the total opposite.
Yeah.
I was a straight A student. I ran into my problems with just bad choices. Going to the 7th grade, this is where I made my fatal turn. Going to the 7th grade, the kids go down to this place called the Creek where they smoke their cigarettes and everything. And one day they invited me to go down there and hang out with the crowd. And I fell under the peer pressure. Down there hanging with the kids, and some kid had passed me a joint of marijuana. I've never had marijuana before or anything. And, well, I smoked that marijuana joint, and let's just say after that, the rest was history. The next 15 years was very turbulent for me because of my poor choices. And so I wasn't dumb. I was smart as a whip, so I really don't have no excuse at all of anything that I did as a kid. I just made bad choices.
Do you think the marijuana led you into crack, or what was the sequence of events with the drugs?
No, I never got into it. They say it's a gateway to other drugs, but I never did nothing else. I never even had a drink of alcohol in my life. None of that kind of stuff. It's just that, but when I did start smoking weed, no, you're not going to class anymore. So it's no good being a straight A student if you're not in class. I'm cutting class now I'm getting suspended and stuff like that, getting kicked out of school and stuff. So marijuana didn't lead me to the gateway of other drugs, but it led me to the gateway of crime.
All right, 7th grade, huh? Mick, anything to add about your youth growing up? I mean, you had you got a great mom, and you got a pretty good growing up experience in general, right?
Yeah, I mean, I grew up. I grew up. My biggest problem was, I guess, growing up having those role models, those football players, and different people that I could look up to. As I got older, it's like society started taking those people away. Whether it was being able to watch, on television, those shows that showed, me being a soon-to-be college student, or me growing in life. I started, every time I cut on the television or listen to music, it started being, something that was bringing me down. It's like, media has started a war against, myself, and it started making me feel like there was nowhere to turn to see myself or see a positive black role model. Those things started to elude us, and it just, to me, that's what made growing up started to be harder. So, nowadays I feel what a lot of these kids are going through, because when brothers like us are out there talking to these kids and trying to tell them how to change their lives and how to do better and be better, and they understand us, they get us, and they feel what we're saying, but then as soon as they walk away from us and they go cut on the television has thousands of cable channels, but out of all those channels that they cut on, they hardly see themselves under a different light other than being a drug dealer or a gangbanger or something like that. So they don't see that, a rapper or something. If these kids, cut off the TV and say, well, how about watching or listening to some music? All these radio stations are out there, but every single one that's aimed at them are telling them to go do this drug or go act this way and all that. So, it's hard for these kids to get away from something that every turn that they turn is showing them that they're not nothing, and there'll never be nothing. It's no positivity. There's nothing for these kids to look forward to. So it takes brothers like us to continue to try to be out on these streets and these communities trying to show these kids that, no, that's just a trick. That's just a lie. You guys can be our future leaders. But it just takes more of us to be able to get ourselves in position to be able to show these kids what they need to be able to see.
Absolutely.
Bruce, you want to expand upon that, your view, Bruce?
Absolutely. And for me, we're getting involved with the gangs growing up as a kid, and getting involved in drugs. What had to happen for me is I went on the run from Chicago in 95, and I came to Minnesota in 95. But when I came to Minnesota, I didn't know I'd take me everywhere I go. So when I was on the run from myself to try to escape the disease of addiction and then get out of the gang life, I found out that I'd take me everywhere I go. And in saying that, I found out that the problem that I had in Chicago, I brought the same problem to Minnesota. Didn't nothing change but the address. So I had to face myself head on years later with my disease and my addiction. And
How'd you do that?
I didn't find, my brother died
Yep.
to the disease of addiction when I was 40 years old.
Yeah.
And as he laid in that casket and me being at that funeral, it was like we was having a conversation while he was dead. So I was spiritually dead and he was physically dead. But it was a physically dead man helping a spiritually dead man to live. And he told me in that casket that you better than that, and you gonna be better than that, and go get you some help. And I guarantee you, once you get some help, you'll never use and turn back again. 6 months after my brother died, he came to me in my house, and he woke me up. And this was something that was so real to me. And when he woke me up, he grabbed me and he said, "Man, I'm proud of you. I told you wasn't gonna never get high again." That was 16 years ago. January 31st will be 17 years.
That's awesome.
And I turned my life over to God and got on track and started back doing construction. And I've been in the construction field for 22 years straight here in Minnesota, in the labor's union. So
we were wondering why you got those orange and yellow pants on. There we go.
this ain't a club outfit, okay?
We didn't know if that was a yellow from the Vice Lords or what.
Oh no.
Andre, over there, I'm proud of you. You and I have known each other since the early 80s when your mom moved up here, and it took you a while. I mean, you spent a little time in and out of prison. But tell us how you finally made the jump out. I mean, and we're going to get to what you think we're going to do for kids to help them, but tell your story.
Well, I changed my life when, Bob, you always talked to me, whether I was doing bad or doing good. You always talked to me. And I had moved back from Florida. When I moved back, we stayed in touch. So when I moved back from Florida and you said you would give me a job, it kind of changed my life because I was kind of leery.
Well, you were down there cooking.
But yeah, I'm talking about.
Yeah,
this
all
kind
your
of
stuff
job.
was up
Right.
here in the storage garage. You call me, can you help me with my storage fee?
So after I moved up from Florida, I didn't have no idea, because I used to play with God in Florida, go to church every 2-3 Sundays, and then go out there and do what I was doing. Absolutely. And then God, Andre, you got to stop this somehow. You're gonna mess around, you're gonna go back to the joint, or you're gonna die. So when I got up here and I talked to Bob was kind of happy I moved back. And, he was like, Andre, well, if I run for sheriff, I'm going to need you by my side. And that kind of woke me up. I mean, that really woke me up. You're going to have a job. And I'm like, man, I can't work for the police. You know what I'm saying? Just saying this, but I work for Bob.
We needed people like you to help us change what's happening on the street.
So Bob brought me in, man, and it was wonderful. And I said, well, let me try God now. So I went and got baptized by Pastor Patterson, and I've been kind of on the right track ever since then. I pray to the Lord. I send you a script every morning.
Sends me one every morning.
I send
Brooke.
all y'all scripts every morning. Yeah. Everybody in here. Well, yours ain't working. But anyway, that's what I do. So when I got to the Lord and he talked to me, and I got with Pastor Spence, because Fletcher put us together right away.
Yeah. Well, you needed a mentor like Pastor Spence.
Well, I didn't need him, but
I call him the
needed
Rev.
him by me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So he can pray for me. And every time he'll pray for me, man, and he listened to me. He knew what I was about and what I wasn't about. And then that's what brought me to this, the way I am right now. I'm staying with God and Fletcher. I ain't going nowhere else.
Yeah. Well, David's kind of a funny story, because David and I met at a barbecue over there at Marydale Park after he was out of prison, right?
Yeah.
And we had known each other back in the day in the streets, but we saw him there, and
I stopped by there to get some food. I was hungry. I was coming down Dale Street, and I see there was a gathering at this little park and stuff, and I seen a couple of vendor trucks there to eat. So I stopped by there to get something to eat, and I was talking to some people, and I didn't know Bob and his wife happened to be there and stuff, and Bob approached me, and I looked up, I said, you look familiar. I said, you're law enforcement. He said, you know me, David. And he told me who he was. I'm like, oh, wow, I haven't seen Bob at that time. Wow, I haven't seen Bob in about almost 30 years at that time. So before you know it, me, Bob, and his wife started talking, and we talked. We talked so long to where I didn't even notice that the people done packed up the food trucks and everything and done left and gone and everything. I'm like, where'd everybody go? I mean, everybody's gone except for me, Bob, and his wife. And that's how long we talked.
I was fascinated by your story because, David spent a little time in prison. I mean,
just a little.
Nobody here has been convicted of murder, but David spent a little time in prison for when he was a young man, getting in a gunfight once, but actually that was back when they were prosecuting people extensively if they were part of a gang, and he got a little extra on, but what was interesting about your story is you said prison helped you figure it out.
Prison probably saved my life. Matter of fact, prison did save my life because first of all, I had to get away from my number one enemy, which was me. I was the enemy, but I didn't know the enemy. God opened up my eyes to what was going on with me. So my first 10 years, because I did 20 inside, my first 10 years I was mad at the world, and I still couldn't figure it out. And in my 10th year, this girl sent me a Bible for my birthday. And it's like a light came on. My heart softened. Everything started coming clear to me. I could see things better. I could hear things better. And it's like, wow, what have I done with my life here? And the courage to just be a better human being, not just for myself, but for my community, for my family, it just came out of nowhere. It was such a force inside me to where I was so determined to turn all this around. At this point in time, when I'm thinking like this, though, I still got 10 years to do in the penitentiary. But it starts with me getting my mind right. I got to come home. I got to change the whole format. I got to start from scratch. But I was determined to do so. And here I am, 13 and a half years later. I haven't broken the law in 32 years.
And he really didn't break the law in prison. I was with him. He stayed by himself.
Yeah. Well, Michi over there, Michi is like a cat. He's survived being shot 9 times. I don't even know if that's an accurate thing. Is 9 right?
Yeah, that's right.
Not
right.
Michi's been shot 9 times. Not, and I don't know why people don't like you because you're really a hell of a nice guy, you know. But that's the old life, right?
The old life.
The old life.
The old meets the old life, man. You know.
Yeah.
I think, you know, I give my thanks and praises to, you know, like Mickey, like that's who encouraged me to change my life.
Right.
You know, steer away from the gangs. You know, like I seen Mickey when he started the Truth Center. You know, and I was like, I couldn't be a part of it. You know, because I was still stuck in the streets.
Yep.
And I'm saying to myself, I just can't be a part of that. You know. And as time went by, man, I was just seeing the good things that Mick was doing and everything, and I was just like, you know, I can't live this life no more. You know,
Yeah.
like, you know. And I went to Mickey and I said, Mick, man, you know, I would tell Star Wars, you know, Rev, talk to Bob, man, you know, like I'm ready to get on board.
Well, Mickey vouched for you.
For sure.
Well, you remember
For sure.
Bob asked you. You remember Bob asked you at first, and you said no.
Exactly.
Well, usually I would run into you at the liquor store when I was getting liquor for Andre.
That's a good right there.
That's what he added to you. We was at the liquor store.
For sure, man. Man, Mick, man, I love Mickey, man. I thank you, Bob, man. I thank y'all for putting good words in for me, man. For getting on board, man. Trying to, you know, let these kids know it's a different way in life than just being into the gangs. You know what I'm saying? Stuff like that. You know, Mick, man, on live, man. I thank you, bro, man. You my savior, man. For sure.
It's the men in this room who we all took at some point in time. We all took a left turn instead of taking that right turn. But it's the men in this room right now, today, 2022, who all done took this right turn and were determined to make sure as many people as we come across in our lifetime to also make that same right turn.
Yeah. Amen. And, you know, you guys haven't always agreed, but you know you got the same mission now. And that's what's the common mission.
Absolutely.
Mick, you want to say anything about your young mentors here? I mean, I know that he's actually as old as you, but...
That's my little brother, right?
Yeah.
There, man. That's my cousin. That's to sit back and watch Michi go from being, he got whoopings every day, and just to watch him go from that part of his life to being in the gang and stuff, and just to be able to come and get away from what the community was saying, because when I started the Truth Center, and I had my affiliation with, with the help that you would give me, and just doing this type of work, and me and him joke a lot, but we always say that we have to fix what we help to mess up,
Yeah, amen.
And so trying to fix what we help mess up, that means having relationships with everybody, all those people from law enforcement, having those friendships that, we're going to need to help to repair those wrongs that we made. And, so it was a lot of people that had things negative to say about myself when I started the Truth Center, but I trusted my faith, I trusted my high power, and I trusted that, God was going to put me in a place that, I was going to like, and just trust the process. And then, so when I talked with, when Michi came to me and was like, man, I'm ready to change. And I, basically, told him, you're going to have to trust the process. And he said that he was willing to do that. And, literally the sky's been the limit for that brother, just to watch him go from, I think he was on your live probably a year or so ago. And, it was a situation and whatever. And to see how he came from.
There's a lot of ways you could describe that situation. You could say it was the best house party ever, or you could say it was more rounds expended outside the house than ever. There's a couple of ways you could describe that. But the point is, he's figured out a better
Yeah.
course in life, right?
Yeah.
You know, and,
I mean, we know it's not hard to have a house party. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
You call
right.
some friends or just let anybody in and play some music, and there you go, especially in the neighborhood. So,
And I was security.
And this ain't
I was
just
security that night.
and this ain't just for
Crazy.
us. See, this is for everyone. See, this is a group thing. What I mean by group thing, I mean the whole community and everything. We're all in this together. This ain't just these men are here in this room. We're all on the same team. We all need to get on the same page with one another. And everything, because you know what? We all have loved ones out there, whether it be our kids or whoever. We all have loved ones, people that we care about. Okay, if you claim you care that much, come on.
all right,
let's
so what are we
all
going to
this.
do about these little 14-year-olds that are out there running around, you know?
We're going to snatch them and cuff them.
Well, then what?
Here's something
Then
that
what?
You know-
that I've always tried to specialize in, and try.
Don't
to,
be. This is not a sexual tape.
No, I know. That's fine at home.
Okay, do you have another specialty? Is what you're
But
saying, or
no,
what?
no.
Okay.
But what I tried to specialize in is where I got my help from, and that's from older brothers in recovery that cuffed me and taught me how to live again and taught me how to deal with situations and my emotions without the use of drugs. See, because the use of drugs and alcohol is such an emotional attachment that will direct you in such a negative way. And if we can get some of these kids off the drugs and the alcohol, that's a really big start, because mostly every kid that I've ever known that came down at ADAP at 445 Etna, where I taught at down there for 5 years, every kid that came through there smoked marijuana.
Okay.
So if you can get a lot of these kids off the substance, that's a big start. And that's where I want to start at.
And I agree with you completely, but most of them had issues like you did in school earlier.
Before the substance.
Most of them some of them started the substance just as an escape
Absolutely.
from their own reality,
Absolutely.
right? So we got to give them a good reality, right?
You got to get to the core of the problem. Just
Anybody
like an
else
apple.
want to jump in on that?
But the good reality for them would be to live and not be in prison and not be dead before your time.
Amen.
That would be the reality for all the kids, for anybody who strives to live your life. Thing is and stuff, the kids, our biggest ally that we do need right now is the parents in the home. You guys are the key to a lot of this stuff that is going on. It starts with you guys. You guys are the biggest key to this. It ain't law enforcement. Law enforcement can only do what they do when things are going down. But it starts with your parents in the home. Whether you're a single parent, both parents in the home, it starts with you guys. You guys are our biggest and strongest allies. Without you guys, I don't think this is gonna work.
you know, we got to take it and use. It's a good thing that all of us come from this neighborhood, that we've all lived a certain way of life at one point, and then now we've all changed and we're living we're going down a different path now. And for, you know, what people don't understand is it was a strategy to what Bob did when it came to us and, you know, the sheriff's department and doing what we're doing. It wasn't just grab, you know, some guys off the streets that had lived some rough lives and let them become ambassadors. No, it was to get those ones that had influence on these communities, you know, the Michis, the me, the Star Wars, the ones that people looked up to, you know, and now they can look up to us in a different light. And, you know, you have to be able to show these very kids that, hey, if I can change and I was living a crazy life and doing the most, if Meech can change, if Star Wars can change, if we can show these kids, you know, and it's not just about the kids, it's the younger men, the younger women that, you know, are the 30s, you know, because a lot of us are a little older, you know, so it's even being able to show those brothers and sisters that, you know, you can change. It don't matter, you know, as long as God give you another day, he's giving you another chance to change. And right then and there, you have to be able to accept that and then go and right your wrongs off, you know, and go make a better way. And when it comes to with families, you know, we have to get back to that traditional being able to accept your kid. If your kid done something bad, it's okay. He made a mistake, but use those resources that's out there. It's too many, parents that are struggling, whether they're single parents, that there's resources out there and they're not utilizing those. It's a lot of parents that's out there that, I call it crying wolf. They want this help. They say that they need, their kids in these mentoring programs, and they need the big brother or big sister for their kids, but they're not putting the effort into getting those kids that help. I mean, a parent can go from one part of town to the other part of town to pick up a bag or whatever, but you can't go down the street to put your kid in a program that's going to help that kid out and help you out at the same time. So we have to change our priorities and start to realize that, in order to make change, we have to start within ourselves, and that goes from the parents all the way down to the kids.
Well said. We haven't heard from the Rev here, and mostly because he's been your mentor kind of through this process, but he didn't have quite the same life that you did. I'm not sure exactly. Why do you think that was, Rev? Lean back and tell us the story of your life about.
Well, I don't know that my life has been much different. It was just not in Ramsey County.
Okay. Well.
As I listened, I was overwhelmed because I remember when I met each person. I remember the walk. I was there, 9 bullets. I was serving as a God squad, looking down on my friend, and it struck me. I was there when this brother came and said, man, me and you going to be partners. And I'm like, and then David, I remember the day David got out of, and here comes this David Lindsay. I'm from, I came here from D.C. I didn't know who, but I knew the name Lindsay. He walked up, man, I'm looking for you. Nah, bro, I ain't the guy. But immediately we connected and we bonded. We knew that there was something there. David hung out at my house every day. I mean, we were together every day, just trying to build. He was telling me his story, his life. When I left D.C., I left running. But I'm glad that I ran to a place I had no idea. I had never heard of St. Paul. I didn't know what this was. But I'm glad that when I got here, yesterday my post, I showed a picture of me standing under Fuller, the sign where I live. Fuller Block is where I received my call, where I knew that I really had a call on my life. I knew that God had brought me to a different level than life, that I can be there for brothers who are trying to get out of the game, trying to change the game, trying to be a different. We argue, fuss, and fight. But we all got Mickey. We can call Mickey and say, Nick, do your thing. Tell us how to get back together. But we know how we got to stay together. The 4 or 5 of us, we know that without us, we're broke. But what happens is when those folks start talking about y'all the police, y'all this, when they see us keep growing and not going back, they know that this is real. When they see us sitting around, it's amazing how many phone calls we get. Rev, can I be part of the team? Rev, I want to be an ambassador. Rev, I posted the picture of out at the fair. The ambassadors this year were just so phenomenal. That's when they talk about reforming the police. That's what the community wants to see. Brothers who've been there, brothers who can, we respond to a scene at the fair, it ain't like we going to something we don't know about. We go into a situation that one time in our life we created that kind of problem.
Well, working in partnership with the law enforcement community too, and you're the bridge to the community.
And when you have you know that the police got your back. You know that, so you can go ahead and move forward. I don't know that any of us, we know we ain't none of us angels, but we glad that we were able to survive what we went through, so that we can go back. I did, help me somebody, the Underground Railroad. I did her birthday celebration, 200 years with Mickey. Harriet Tubman. She just, her 200th birthday. The one thing I learned that day is she kept going back. And that's what we have to do. We have to go back to our sets. We have to go back to the groups that we had and keep bringing somebody else out. We can't just leave all those people that we were with. we had big circles on that side. I watched Star Wars when he down there on 5th in Minnesota. He'd show his arms and say, man, ain't no retirement plan in this. That's important, man. Them kids may not listen at that moment, but they know.
They plant a seed.
Yeah.
Plant a seed.
I saw Mickey's niece shaking hands with the sheriff today. Man, every day we see something else that makes us proud of what we're doing every day.
Yeah. Well,
So-
tell them about the spots you've been working, because you worked all over the city.
Well, yeah.
Wilder Playground, of course.
Wilder Playground. Everybody knows about Edgerton and Case.
Yeah.
I thank y'all for supporting that effort. And then we go to Frogtown Rec. Frogtown Rec is an up-and-coming problem. There's one little girl that's barred, and she show up every day. They literally have barred her from the rec, but she there every day. And, she loves meat. She always got to go mess with meat. But that's just how it is. So now we're looking, me and Bob and Lisa Clemens, shout out to my friend, we went over north, and we looked at the murder station.
Yeah.
We looked at Merwin's. We don't want that,
Right.
but we know it's coming this way.
Yeah.
If we have our wishes to clean that corner, they got to go somewhere. So when we go to Holiday gas station now, it's go there to tell them, look.
Yeah, you went out Holiday at Rice and Penn. You've been
Rice
looking
and
at
Penn.
that.
We've
It's
been
kind of
there.
it's turning into
This week,
a hangout problem.
Yeah.
Open,
don't want us
open air
there.
drugs.
right? Over there, they
Oh yeah.
That's why you need to arm us.
Yeah, because when we popped up there
Yeah.
on Monday and stuff, it was like they seen a ghost or something. It was like, where are these? And it just made everybody uncomfortable, and it changed the balance of what was going on down there. It's just the beginning, but because we could be pests, because we're going to keep showing up.
Yeah.
Regardless.
But,
Well,
the thing about that, though, that makes it so great is because we can come down there and do the same, do essentially the same thing that the police is trying to do, but we get just more respect. I mean, just to be honest,
Right.
a lot of those kids will yell and scream and cuss out police officers and try to push their buttons. For us, we know a lot of those kids or those people that's at these spaces that will respect us enough to go ahead and just leave. And that's why it's so important to have that partnership between police and community.
Well, that Rice and Penn, that changed quickly in 1 year, became a drug hangout there. And so I appreciate you guys taking a shot at seeing if you can improve that. But I know you went, the bus stop downtown, Andre, that's a big concern of yours. And you've been doing a great job of stopping in there. You got anything you want to say about that?
Well, yeah, I love going down there. We all went down there, yesterday, 2 days ago? Was it 2 days ago? And every owner that's down there is so glad to see us. They be like, we need y'all help, talk to these boys. And they listen to us.
Let your presence be
You know?
seen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, this is an amazing group of individuals that's making a difference. We, of course, want to hope we can expand it next year. But, Mickey's 8 to 18 Truth Center, if you can send any help his way, he'd appreciate anything you got. Rev loves getting gift cards because they can be used downtown and networking with the kids down there. It does open the door for conversation, right?
Yes.
No doubt about it. A lot of you backseaters are sending gift cards. So Bruce wants to know if he can get a blue construction outfit instead of a yellow one.
No, I need this one because they will hit me if it's blue.
Yeah, I know. That's what I fear.
That's right.
And I always, when it comes to David about his story about doing 20 years, and I'm always reminded of that movie Dumb and Dumber, the second one, where the one guy fakes like he's in a coma for 20 years, and he said, "I got you, making you take care of me." He said, "Well, wouldn't 10 years have been as good?" And the answer was, "But not as. But it sounded like the first 10 wasn't quite enough. So I'm really proud of you for finding God and your story. Well, we'll talk to this group periodically about their work and about what we can do to help kids. But anything you can do to send Rev some gift cards down here or anywhere to help open the door for these kids. And a lot of these kids just are hungry, to be honest with you. A lot of them just
They be
don't
so
have food.
appreciated when we give them the gift cards or when we bring food to them with the gift cards. They just
And just
they
think
love it
about
and they look forward to it.
Yeah.
And just think about it. Who wouldn't be angry if they're hungry?
Yeah.
Who wouldn't be angry? I know I'm angry when I'm hungry.
Yeah.
So I'm just saying, you know, a full stomach means, yeah.
Yeah, there's no question about it. Just a lot of kids are suffering, and getting a Dairy Queen is not a thing that that they're used to, or even have any food. It's so the work that you're doing out there is tangible and long term. Anything you want to say in closing, Rev?
Yeah, I just want to say, keep sending the items, but keep praying for us.
Amen.
Keep our name on your prayer list. However you believe, whatever, please pray that the ambassadors, pray that Bob Fletcher, Pat Scott, whoever, make sure that we're on your list, because we need uplifting every now and then.
And pray for those kids that you see on our video that are lost, right?
Yes.
And need somebody, because that's really
Yesterday, I put, there were 2 kids walking the neighborhood. I wasn't even at work. I handed them Subway cards. Man, they ran to Subway.
That's beautiful, though.
And I stopped and tears formed. I said, them kids weren't just asking for a gift card. They were
Right.
hungry.
right.
Absolutely.
And I was right across the street from Subway. And they literally ran to Subway.
Yeah.
And when they came out, they were like, Rev, this sandwich is fire. I said, wow, that's what it's about.
Those are great stories.
That's what it's
And
about.
do me a favor, while y'all at the holiday, please, please watch out for my friend Lil Susie. Don't hit her. Please watch out for her. That's a good friend of mine, and she an OG like us. We love her too. Watch out for her.
No, I always tell a funny story about, you remember when Ronnie Ryan Jr. and Timmy Jones were shot and killed.
Yeah.
And Ron Ryan was buried the service was a presentation, but Jones's was at the cathedral. And as we left in the procession, little Susie was alongside of the road crying.
Yeah.
And it's, of course, 28 years ago. But she's had a hard life.
Yes, she has.
But she's been supportive of the police, and as she went through that life, and appreciated that death is sad, you know. So, Bruce, thank you for being here with us. Any closing comments there?
Bruce, man,
Well,
appreciate you.
all I want to do is do what I've been doing for years. And the name of the organization I have is called Info. And we just pass out information to people who have a lack of knowledge of. Because that's what a lot of the communities suffer from, is a lack of knowledge. So what we do is we pass out information, pamphlets for battered women's shelters, people that's homeless, people who looking for places to go, places to eat, you know. And this is what I do, is I grab pamphlets from all different organizations, and I pass them out to people who have a lack of knowledge of where to go and get help.
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you, gentlemen. We're going to sign off. Backseaters, this is the ambassador group from the Ramsey County Sheriff's Office doing great work. And we'll be